what could a third Wicked movie even look like? The ending in For Good is great, and there's a certain finality to it. I'm sure plenty of you clicking on this video think I'm crazy for even suggesting a third movie. Which makes sense. I mean, the movie is based off the musical, which is based off the book, and there is nothing about Elphaba's story post-melting. In both the movie and the musical, she leaves Oz with Fiero, and in the book she actually dies from the water.
I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world!
But that's also why I think we can ask this question, because as much as we want stories based off of previous materials to stay loyal to the original source content, neither the Wicked musical or movie did that with the book, and those were both very good stories that were very successful, so as much as that's a general rule for storytelling, it's not an absolute.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
And I don't have any breaking news for this. I mean, the latest seems to be that Universal wants to create a Wicked universe, but that it won't be a continuation of the Wicked story, which means that they're looking to one of the other books by Gregory Maguire, so it would either be one of the three ones that takes place after Wicked, with Son of a Witch, A Lion Among Men, or Out of Oz, or they're looking to one of the prequels with Elfie or Galinda. And not that I have a problem with prequels, I am a Star Wars fan after all. I do worry about how these prequels could come across as movies. Now, obviously the Galinda book isn't out yet, that's coming out in September of this year, but the story seems to be based off of, like, the family's struggles, and if I had to guess, it's probably about how this sweet, innocent girl, kind of as a defense mechanism, becomes kind of a bratty, spoiled, mean girl, which, we know what Galinda becomes, so, like, as a book, I think it works just to get that extra information. I do worry about how that will come across as a movie, and as for the Elfie book, admittedly, I have not read it, but from what I've read with Wicked and everything that we know about Elphaba's childhood, I feel like a movie would almost come across as like Harry Potter's life at the Dursleys with no Hogwarts. So that would leave the other three books, which follow Elphaba's son Lear, the Cowardly Lion Burr, and Elphaba's granddaughter Rain, and it would be kind of cool for a Wicked universe to see, was Elphaba's sacrifice worth it? Was she right to give Glinda the Grimoire? Was Glinda able to make Oz truly good? But here's the thing, you have to ask yourself, with the Wicked movies and with the musical, what's the best part of that story?
Loathing, unadulterated loathing.
Yes, Glinda and Elphaba's relationship is the best part of this story, and you are taking a huge risk if you're making a movie and it's not centered around those two. And I'm not saying that it can't work, I'd still look forward to it, but especially when you consider the fact that it's based purely off a book and not another musical, and you're having to make all new songs and you can't count on, popular or defying gravity as songs that people already love, then there is a lot of risk involved. And I'm not doubting Stephen Schwartz's abilities here. I'm sure he could take the book and make a great musical for it, and I'm sure the songs would be amazing from it, but at the same time, we only have to look at Wicked for good, nobody was most excited to hear No Place Like Home or The Girl in the Bubble. And I say that as somebody who very much enjoyed both songs, especially the cinematography in The Girl in the Bubble, but come on, they don't compare to No Good Deed or For Good. So if I'm saying there's risk in using one of the books to make another movie, and by the way, when I'm talking about risk, I don't really care if, the studio loses money. If the studio loses money, it's because the story isn't good and the movie doesn't do well. I'm worried about the movie trying to live up to Wicked, and that's what I talk about when I mean risk, but even then, no matter how I'm talking about it, if I think there's risk, then I must think that there's a little more meat on the bone for the movies if I'm suggesting there could possibly be a third one. And I'm sure a lot of you disagree with me on this, especially because the ending was so great, and I'm not even saying this in a, oh, there always needs to be a happy ending sort of way. Personally, I love it when a story, gives a character what they think they want, but because of how they've changed over the story, it's not what they need anymore. And that's definitely what happens to Glinda. Then you throw in Elphaba's Dark Knight ending, where she's the hero that Oz deserves, but not the one it needs right now. And this ending is awesome. But there is one change that the movies make from the musical that makes me think that there could be more to this story. And it's No Place Like Home. In the second part of Wicked, Elphaba obviously gets to the point where she thinks everything she's doing is only making life worse for everybody, and decides that what's best is for her to just have her own happy ending, just by herself, as she leaves Oz forever, in a way that's kind of reminiscent of Captain America in Avengers Endgame, where they just leave the fight and everything behind because they've earned it, kind of, in a way, and just want to spend time with the person they love most. Or, in Elphaba's case, Fiero.
Are you saying boo or boo earns?
But No Place Like Home shows that she still loves Oz, even though it has never loved her, and that part of the reason that she's leaving is because she thinks it's what's best for Oz, you know? No matter how terribly it's treated her, she still wants what's best, and she believes that she's not it. The problem for her is, after faking her death, no matter how much time passes, she'll still be hated if she comes back, so there's really only a handful of things that would really be worth coming back for. Or she would have had Morrible not dropped a house on her sister, or if her friend who had broken said sister's heart didn't try to kill her after getting turned into tin. And the one person that Elphaba would want to see most can't know she's alive, otherwise she can't help Oz the way that Elphaba wants her to. Heck, if Glinda knew she was still alive, she may just leave Oz behind just to be with her. So if Glinda is the only one who Elphaba would come back for, then what would the story be? Because Elphaba's not just gonna come back for a cup of coffee. If she's coming back, then Glinda must be in some sort of mortal danger that only Elphaba can save her from. And we know that Elphaba would be able to see this because she has visions of the future, and when you consider that the last one she had was of her sister dying, if she gets one about Glinda dying, I have no doubt in my mind that she would come back and save her. But Glinda is popular, and everything is going her way, so what danger could she be facing that only Elphaba could save her from? Morrible is the greatest threat left, and with her powers to control the weather, would definitely be able to destroy the Emerald City and possibly even kill Glinda. And we also know that Elphaba can see when she's going to use her powers because that's what happens when she's going to kill her sister. But the difference this time is Elphaba knows these visions are real now, so she's going to get a vision of her using her powers, then Morrible's going to attack the Emerald City, and she's going to jump in and save Glinda, no questions asked. But how is Morrible going to get out? You know, last we saw her, she was being dragged off by the flying monkeys to presumably spend the rest of her life in a cage, but here's the thing, there is someone who can break her out, who also does have motivations against Elphaba and Glinda. We don't really know in the movie if Glinda recognizes Bach after he's turned into the Tin Man, but after his time as a witch hunter where he seemingly succeeds in killing Elphaba, making him a hero, he's going to want more than just a testimonial, and he's going to expect it from Glinda. And if you really can't reverse a spell from the Grimoire, which maybe click on the card if you want to see where Magic in Oz really comes from, but I think it comes down to one of two scenarios. Either Glinda doesn't recognize Bach and is unable to help him because of that, or she does recognize him and doesn't want to help him even if she could because of what he did to Elphaba. And because of Bach's willingness to give in to hate and seek vengeance, this would then lead to him wanting to get revenge on Glinda, but he also believes that she's actually a witch, so he's going to need help if he's going to be going after Glinda the Good. So Bach breaks Morrible out of jail, and then she tries to kill Glinda, only to be stopped by Elphaba. But even though their plan failed, it works even better for them, because the piece that Glinda has been building for however many years are in between these two stories is broken, because it was all built on a lie, and Oz is thrown back into chaos. And I referenced The Dark Knight earlier, but this is where the story really starts to become The Dark Knight Rises, as Glinda and Elphaba have to get past the fact that Elphaba had lied to her and faked her death, abandoning her in Oz, as the two of them have to team up with Fiero to save Oz from Morrible and Bach, who are basically Ra's al Ghul and Bane. Which, by the way, if you want to see how else Elphaba compares to Batman, there's a lot more than you would think, so click on the card here. And then as for how this story ends, maybe Elphaba ends up having to sacrifice herself for real, but I almost think it would be better if Oz embraces her and gives her love for the first time in her life as she, Glinda, and Fiero are able to defeat Morrible and Bach. You know, maybe Fiero sacrifices himself instead to give it some more stakes, and while that's definitely in character for him, I can admit that part of that is me just shipping Elphaba and Glinda.
Fire!
Let it burn!
How's that for a slice of fried gold? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this idea, or if you want to see a third movie in the Wicked series, or if you'd rather see one of the books be turned into a movie. Admittedly, I haven't read all of them, so I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Son of a Witch, A Lion Among Men, Out of Oz, Elfie, or any predictions you have for the Glinda book, you know? But if you do like this idea, maybe Steven Schwartz and John Chu will too, so spread it around, drop a like, subscribe if you want more like this, and I'll see you next time on STV.